Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, a Pittsburgh Steelers podcast made by fans like you, for fans like you. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. I am your host, Joe Kuzma. You're going to start calling me Crazy Joe here shortly, because let me tell you, today was the craziest day I've had in all the time that I've been running, the short time that I've been running this show and producing these podcasts and just trying to get out a quality product for all of you listeners and for myself too, because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I kind of get a little OCD on making sure that you guys could actually hear what I'm saying and that this whole shindig sounds good and is a good professional quality program that you could look forward to listening to. And trust me, that's just as important to me as it probably is to you, because you don't want to listen to a bunch of just guys ramble that you can't hear and it sounds worse than let me tell you, the audio quality on some of this stuff that's going around out here, and this isn't to single anyone out in particular, it's just I listen to a lot of podcasts, not just sports. I listen to everything, and you get, name it, news, NPR, all these things. And some of these things just sound like, I don't know what it is that some people do. But I take real pride in my craft and the professionalism, and I have some integrity, and I want to put out a good quality show for you. And the reason I'm telling you guys this is today I had some show notes thrown together, and I reworked an article for BTSC, or Behind the Steel Curtain, who now I've partnered with, and the editor, Jeff Hartman, over there. Shout out to you, Jeff. Thank you for having me. I'll be sharing some of the Steel City Underground content over at Behind the Steel Curtain, and a lot of the stuff that I'm doing over at Behind the Steel Curtain will be a little different or have a different spin, or more meat, less meat, maybe some of the resources that are available to me there, as opposed to here at steelcityunderground.com, but still working on both. So I didn't jump ship. I'm not abandoning this. This is my baby. And this is a collaboration or a partnership or a relationship over there with Behind the Steel Curtain. If you're not familiar, they're probably maybe the largest Steelers website not named Steelers.com, owned by Vox Media and underneath the banner of SB Nation. So very cool to be working with Jeff and all of the other writers, collaborators, and all the fine people that frequent that site. So I have this Jesse James article, and I have everything queued up for a podcast with show notes, and that's what I was going to do today for today's show. And wouldn't you know, and everybody has this neighbor. So this jagoff just starts cutting grass about 5 or 6 minutes into me recording this thing. And like I told you, I'm already OCD. I'm already a perfectionist. If this one actually doesn't turn out too well, I'm always beating myself up. I'm talking to some of my other contributors, collaborators, friends, and whatnot who listen to this, and they think I'm nuts. And everything's fine. And it's like, no, I hold myself to, hey, the standard is the standard, right? Huh? There is a t-shirt for that too, by the way. If you search for Steel City Underground on Amazon, didn't mean to intentionally plug my product there, but the standard is the standard. It's that locker room sign. If you've seen it in the Steelers locker room, it's the Mike Tomlinism, if you want to call it something like that, his quote. So I have a very high standard. You know what, believe it or not, I do think that's what Jeff calls his show over at Behind the Steel Curtain. So just a coincidence. Hey, Jeff, you got 2 plugs in on this show. So anyways, the Jesse James thing gets tossed out the window because actually not my jagoff neighbor, but his grandson. I'm not sure if he's old enough to be a jagoff. I might get in trouble if I actually say that. So he's out there cutting the grass. So you just hear this lawnmower in the background of this audio, and I end up cutting it off. And I was gonna wait, and I start to kind of mess with the editing program. You hear, and I'm like, oh boy, it's not gonna work. And I have pretty thick walls in here and everything else, but the homes are close together where I live, and so I'm kind of disappointed for myself, and not to disappoint you guys. The Jesse can't even say his name tonight. JJ, let's just call him that, not Watt, but Jesse James. My podcast on that topic will be forthcoming. It is preempted, not only because of a Jagoff or Jagoff's grandson with his lawnmower, but, the other disappointing thing about not even bringing you that particular piece today in today's episode is that you have your neighbor that goes out there and you need to get your own yard cut too, right? And you need to go out, cut your grass. And, I love doing it. It's relaxing. It's something that kind of takes me away, gets my mind off of things, and helps me think of more things to do with Steel City Underground. And now I didn't have a podcast to put out, nor did I have cut grass and a neighbor has a freshly cut yard. And boy, if that just doesn't tick you off. The yinzers are gonna yins. I was yinsing. So no Jesse James today. And I had another one that was kind of queued up. I want to do a 2-part series on special teams and how it's important and whatnot. And so I'm thinking about doing some of this, and I go to queue up the old sound studio equipment here again, and I swear somebody's running like a pirate radio broadcast. And I can't really tell what they're doing, if it's talk radio or some type of Beethoven. It's kind of whatever kind of just gets thrown. It might just be my Jagoff neighbor. I don't know if they're running some type of illegal pirate broadcast stream or something, but I'm getting the feedback in my equipment. And so that kind of blowing everything out of the water. I was pretty much resigned to my fate that I was just not going to record something for today's show. Okay, I was just going to skip a day, take a day off. I was miffed. But as fate would have it, and as I get on my rants and my soapbox from time to time, as those of you who know me well by now, something got under my skin, and it was the most minuscule of things, but it's another one of these clickbait article headlines that got me thinking, who writes this crap? And it's not somebody from behind the steel curtain. And as you know, I'm not going to name names or anything like that. And there's people out there that make these sensationalized type of headlines. And if you hadn't seen today, was something that come out of the Steelers training exercises. Ryan Shazier, Antonio Brown, Markus Wheaton, and Sammie Coates raced in a 40-yard dash. And Ryan Shazier won. And it's wow, you know what? That's pretty cool. And the video's out there. I think it's even on Steelers.com. I think they shared it, or they were messing with Snapchat, which was actually kind of funny. For those of you who follow Mark Cabali, I think he's from the Trib, and he made some snide comment about the Steelers media guys trying to learn how to use Snapchat. If you hadn't noticed, the Steelers are just about everybody's kind of big on the Snapchat. I'm not there with the kids yet with the Snapchat. I've got so many things going on social media. Speaking of which, I'm going to derail from that for 1 second. I started doing Vines about maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks to this day when you're listening to this. And for those of you not familiar with Vines, it's just another fancy internet thing, like saying a tweet for Twitter. Or it's a 6 to 7 second little clip of videos. So I started putting these things out there, and I think of something somewhere in the ballpark of over 10,000 views or 15,000 views already on maybe a handful, maybe not even a dozen videos. These things are just so cool to put out. So if you're on Vine, if you just happen to be on Twitter or Facebook, I've been reposting or tweeting the same videos back out there. But if you're on Vine, come check out Steel City Underground. You're going to have to search because they have some pretty stupid rules with Vine where I can't make a custom URL. I can't tell you Vine or Vine.co or whatever it is / Steel City Underground. Or as I say when I'm on Twitter, look for my Twitter handle, Steel City Under, because I only have so many characters for your handle. So we'll see what happens. I have to wait 30 days and get so many followers and so many views and blah, blah, blah. So really appreciate if you help me out. That is a new platform I'm on. I'm having fun with that. But like all the other kids, I'm not on the Snapchat yet. I just got so much going on. I mean, I've got a Pinterest, a Facebook, Twitter. I think this show itself goes out on 5 different podcast services, and hopefully soon will also be syndicated with BTSC, as I was saying earlier. So just got to catch up and get that done. So I want to get back to this Ryan Shazier thing. So he has a race with AB and Markus Wheaton and Sammie Coates, and they're running this 40-yard dash, and it appears, at least from the camera angle, and you could hear some of the, maybe it was a coaching staff. I swear it was like Mike Tomlin, maybe, that was just like, woo! Like, Shazier just puts, like, he gets this second burst of, like, Forrest Gump speed and just blows by the other three at the tail end of this, at the finish line. And that's not even amazingly what I want to talk about with this podcast, but it is the basis of what got underneath my skin with the clickbait articles that I call them, is this headline that says, and if you search this and you Google it, you'll know which site it came from. I just don't care to dignify it on this show because they're not going to throw me a bone anytime soon. And it says, Ryan Shazier wins epic foot race, comma, flashes breakout star potential. Well, no, wait a second. Flashes breakout star potential because he won a foot race that maybe AB started late. Maybe Ryan Shazier got like a jump on them before they hit the gun or said go, or somebody had a knee-jerk reaction. Someone slipped. There was like a patch of mud where there should have been grass, or maybe Sammie Coates or Markus Wheaton didn't take it as seriously as the rest of the internet did. We know these guys are all blazing fast, but to say because Ryan Shazier in some pre-season exercise or thing on the side for fun flashes breakout star potential is the most ridiculous thing I have read on the internet in a while. Maybe, and that might just be like a day or two, really, because there's a lot of ridiculous things on the internet. And the amount of people that were like sharing this and making such a big deal about it, I'm over here, I'm rolling my eyes. One of my favorite things to share with my cousins, in fact, is the GIF image that they have. They have it on Twitter. If you search for Robert Downey Jr., you can just put in Robert, or I think just Downey, Downey, and you just see him leaning up against the wall and rolling his eyes in the back of his skull. That's what I did when I started reading these comments, because to say Ryan Shazier is flashing his breakout star potential is to completely ignore what Ryan Shazier has done over the last several seasons. Now, okay, he gets drafted and he's a rookie in 2014. I'm going to pull up the numbers here real quick. Internet's running real slow. I swear there's a conspiracy against me running this show tonight. I mean, that's all you're going to hear. Okay, got it here. Ryan Shazier appears in 9 games, starts in 5 of them, and he was pretty much like the starter that they wanted at the beginning of 2014, right? And then everybody was saying he was made of glass, and I'm actually surprised out of the comments that I saw. Sure, some smart Alex somewhere said, no, we don't want Ryan Shazier running in these little extracurricular activities because he could get hurt. You know, he might not be wrong. He missed 4 games last year. I mean, the guy is just, a lot of people are comparing him as the new Troy Polamalu, and I can't say that necessarily wrong, but to say the part that's really stuck on me, I don't like to put somebody on such a high pedestal as a future Hall of Famer. Should be first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to be competing with Ed Reed, 2 of the greatest safeties in NFL history. Yes, it doesn't pain me as much to give Ed Reed credit for whatever reason. I just feel he's a little more humble. Maybe he didn't run his mouth, or maybe I just didn't hear him run his mouth as much as Ray Lewis. It really doesn't sit well in my stomach to mention Ray Lewis and say, hey, Ray Lewis was great. Ray Lewis is a Hall of Famer, or anything like that. I can't do that with Ray Lewis. Ed Reed, it doesn't bother me. And I think Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu, despite playing the same position, were both 2 different types of players, even though they were both safeties. And if you get my drift, it was almost like Ed Reed was a ball hawk and Troy Polamalu was this guy that was there. You know what I mean? Anytime there was a play or the ball, you had to pick off something, Troy was just there, and he'd take it to the house. So I don't like putting Ryan Shazier in that category, but to say breakout star potential, Ryan Shazier, folks, arrived in 2015. Like, big time arrived. Okay, so he's, I think, 5th on the team with 55 total tackles. And he has, during the regular season, he does play in and start 12 games. He did get banged up for a few of those. He has a pick, 4 passes deflected, and 2 forced fumbles, 1 recovered. That was during the regular season. In the playoffs, Ryan Shazier has 15 tackles, solo, 5 assists, and then forces 2 fumbles, 1 of which he recovers, 2 passes deflected. The guy, he pretty much won the Steelers that wild card playoff game in Cincinnati. I could tell you 3 names that won that game. Maybe even just the 4th, if you want to throw Chris Boswell, the Wizard of Boz, in there. He's getting his own pranks in too. Everyone's just having fun sharing these different videos and stories because, quite frankly, just listen to what I'm talking about right now. This is how, desperate we are for NFL football news, right? But let's see if you follow me with Ryan Shazier here. Ryan Shazier, one of the names that wins that wild card game. And then, of course, Adam Pac-Man Jones and Vontaze Burfict. Thank you. It's just like handing over to Monopoly properties without asking for any money in return. Goodbye. See you later. But Ryan Shazier just shows up for this game. He has 9 tackles and 4 assisted tackles. So 13 tackles. And I do believe, forgive me if I get this wrong, because I'm looking at Pro Football Reference right now, and it just listed his tackles and assisted tackles. I'm going to see if I can pull this up off another site here, just so I'm not talking out the side of my mouth. A few of you do keep me in check and make sure that I get the right statistics. So this time, I'm just not going to go by. This is my go-to site here. I'm also partnered up with Pro Football Reference. For those of you who have ever read the articles over at steelcityunderground.com, I understand not everybody has time to read, not everyone has time to listen, or do both, one or the other, or half dozen one way, 6 the other. So let's see if I can pull up. The irony is that the site I was just talking about was the one I was going to end up pulling up. So let's see. Let's see if NFL.com, they're going to talk about combined statistics here, career stats, total, assisted, and combined. Okay, so we have it here. Over 2 years, yeah, that's absolutely right. So the Pro Football Reference does have the total tackles broken out as 55, 32 assisted, and then 87 combined for that for the regular season of 2015. So when you go and look at Ryan Shazier's playoff stats in that Bengals game, he had 13 tackles in that game alone. That is just like a freak of nature. And of course, the game he got hurt in against the San Francisco 49ers, and he's game number 2 of the Steelers season. I'm trying to remember where the bye was in that week, because then he doesn't come back until the 7th game. So he misses almost like 5 weeks there. Comes back against Kansas City. But in that San Francisco game, he has a sack, and then he has 15 tackles. So I actually thought in the playoff game against Cincinnati, he might have had more. And of course, he rocked Giovanni Bernard, and he was just a force. Stripped the ball from Jeremy Hill at the end of that game. Ryan Shazier was the breakout. That was the flashes right there. That wasn't even flashes. The flashes were like against, getting 11 solo tackles against the San Francisco 49ers. That is where Ryan Shazier, it was like all of a sudden, year 2 player, we're in September of the new season in 2015. We're the 2nd game in. Okay, the Steelers have already played the defending Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. And Shazier had a pretty good showing there too. 5 tackles solo and 2 assisted tackles. But San Francisco, this guy shows up and he has 15 total tackles when you count 11 of those solo and a sack. And that is where he is the breakout player. And when you look back on a performance like that, and then you see something legendary, none of us are going to forget about this Cincinnati Bengals wildcard game. Definitely not the Cincinnati Bengals, as I talked about on one of my past shows, just with them still needling the Steelers, and then Vince Williams, of course, the news story that I don't want to talk about. I keep mentioning it. I'm not going to mention it again. So Ryan Shazier, if anything, shows up early in that season, and then he shows up in this wild card game, and that is the stuff of legend. That is where you see the difference between showing flashes of being a breakout star or starting to be compared with a future Hall of Famer like Troy Polamalu. Now, I'm not ready to anoint him one way or the other. We do want to see Shazier stay healthy for 16 games. We want to see him play in all of them. But aren't you guys like, doesn't this excite you for football? And I want to say that we're only 96 days or 95 days away. I'm just as guilty as everyone else. I put out these really neat like little graphics. I make them like up real quick. And I started with Brett Kiesel the other day, where's, as you know, number 99. And it has him standing there posing, and it's like, let's hear it for 99 days until Steeler football. And then get one the other day, and I do Cam Hayward, 97. And depending on what you look at on this is my other pet peeve, this is my soapbox. Sorry, you know who you are when I was talking, and I think we got under each other's skin, and I apologize if you do listen to this. It's okay. I didn't take anything personal. It just kind of like is driving me crazy that everywhere I go, somebody has a different Steeler with a jersey. Like I saw Greg Lloyd with 95. I saw Casey Hampton today with 96. Of course, people still reposting the Cam Hayward one with wearing 97 from the other day. And then I saw Aaron Smith with the old 91. And I'm like, I'm just thinking to myself over here, it's like, well, which one is it? And we got into this discussion of how many days there are until football season. And that's what I was saying. If this Ryan Shazier winning this football or 40-yard dash race, and then I don't know if it was before or after practice or whatever, but if that doesn't excite you for football, I don't know what does. And I wanted to say, hey, there's this many days left till football. The best I could say is there's under 100 days. There's somewhere between 190 days, because depending on where you go on the interwebs, they have these neat little countdown things, and you could put in a date, and it tells you how many days there are left until this particular day occurs. So you put it in on one website, and it tells you 97. You put it in on another one, and it tells you 96. And that, of course, is if you're following the Steelers and or the Redskins, who happen to be playing on Monday Night Football to open the season, which is several days after that opening Thursday game that's going to feature the Denver Broncos. And I just drew a blank as to who they were playing, but that opening NFL kickoff game now always a Thursday night game several days before. So some people are actually counting that as the start of the NFL season while they're sharing the, Steelers memes or these images or graphics. And I'm just as guilty as everyone else trying to be cute with these type of graphics and posting the jersey things. And, depending on which website you go to, which date you're using, what the server time is on those computers, wherever they are, you're going to come up with something different every single time. So I'm just going to leave off with there's somewhere between 100 to 90 days until we get Steelers football. And NFL football is somewhere in that ballpark as well. Ballpark really is a baseball term, but we'll say it's in the stadium. And we're going to be seeing actual football and have actual football to talk about. But until then, Ryan Shazier, breakout player, I guess we don't have a high floor for him yet. And I do think that the ceiling is high too. There are so many high ceiling players on the Steelers roster this year. I mean, Antonio Brown, of course, Ben Roethlisberger, the return of Le'Veon Bell, Ladarius Green, a guy I'm going to talk about shortly when things all are in good order, Jesse James, even though he'll be like I'll get to it when I get to it, right? So, once again, listeners, thank you. Thank you for any patience you had. This may have been the biggest train wreck I've ever had recording one of these episodes. So, I appreciate you hanging in there with me. If you thought it was absolutely awful, if the audio quality's all over the place, if there happens to be like somebody with a musical instrument cutting in with feedback, or you hear a lawnmower chirping in the background, or whatever it might be, thank you for your patience, and know that the rest of these will not have those technical issues, hopefully. Of course, me and Eric Herman are chuckling just because of how many times our home phones, for those of you who still have home phones, how many times they rang when we did that interview. I hope to have Eric on the show very soon. We're going to be talking about some very cool predictions. We had a 2-part offense and defense edition of our way too soon Steelers predictions. A special edition of Dual Opinions will appear on the podcast shortly, but for now, you can check out both of those articles over on steelcityunderground.com, and my opinions on all of those hot button topics also appear on behindthesteelcurtain.com. Ladies and gentlemen, always a great time. Always enjoy having you. As always, be good, be safe, and I will catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.